it's Stephanie. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Unwritten. I am super excited because I have Laura Hulleman on the show.
Yeah.
Why I'm excited for Laura, a couple reasons. It's because I just got done spending 4 months with her as my coach. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. It was fun.
It was so fun, and I learned so much about myself and my business. On top of that, so Laura has her own podcast. It's called the Raving Coaches podcast, and she's a marketing strategist inside the Expansion Lab.
Mhm.
So that sounds very scientific.
Well, yes. Good job, me. That's branding. Because the personality assessment that I created 8 years ago that has developed into this way of doing marketing with coaches was called the Endotype Formula. So formulas, sciencey, expansion lab, because I really do think that, like any scientific process, marketing a business is really just about doing certain steps in the right order. It's not doing the same steps for each person.
Right.
Which is frequently what gets misunderstood. I work a lot with coaches and facilitators, and they're sold so often marketing programs or business coaches that are like, just do it my way. But unless you are designed and have lived the exact same life as that person, doing it their way, they got results, but you're not going to get the same results. But with formulas and processes, you can still personalize it, do it your own way, have your own results, but there's still a way to go about it that makes it less scattered and makes it work easier.
And how did you kind of come up with the confidence to do this? Because you do have your own strategy and your own way of doing things. How, was it just baby steps, or did you just wake up one morning and you're like, wrote it all out? Okay, this is what I'm doing. Tell me a little more about your process into this role.
So, as I mentioned, 8-10 years ago, started developing this personality assessment. I did not set up to do that. It was kind of an idea that came along and picked me. I say all the time I was crazy and courageous enough to continue to say yes as the idea kind of led the way. And so, because I had questions that I didn't have answers to, so I just kept doing, and the next right researcher would show up in my path, and I would be on Google and Google searching something, and I would find the next piece of the puzzle and next piece of the formula. And way back then, I suspected that simple 4-question assessment helped predict small business owners' personalized brand. But I didn't come from a branding and marketing background. I'm not a designer. I don't have any of those skills. I didn't go to school for any of that. I was a small business owner since I was like 18 years old. So I've done marketing for myself, and I've made all kinds of mistakes along the way. But I didn't have that confidence to be able to stand in it. So with that marketing piece of it, I sat on that for probably 5-6 years.
Oh, wow.
And I watched as other coaches went through branding processes with amazing people and came out the same brand that I would have predicted them with after they took my 4-question assessment. and I was like, okay, I think it does something. I think it does. And then I talked with enough marketing professionals thinking that my job was to collaborate with somebody, like to make their process easier, right? Because I'm not a marketer, is what I kept telling myself. And it's one of those things, if you've heard that saying, like, right, if you keep saying over and over again, somebody, you should do something about that. And eventually you have to look in the mirror and realize that you're the person that has to do the thing. Mm-hmm. That's what I finally realized, that if I wanted this marketing system to exist, I did, because so many of my coach friends were going out of business because of bad branding and bad marketing. If I wanted this marketing thing to exist, then I had to be the one that started to step up, to create it, to work with designers, create the process, and then found that it is not only just branding, but helping simplify the process of marketing for coaches and facilitators is really one of my secret superpowers.
Yeah, and I think with, I can't speak for coaches, but I can speak for photographers.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that when we start our business that we need to be like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what our business wants for us.
No. Well, because you can't. So frequently in so much of the personal growth and you go to any kind of a business convention and you're going to hear it at least once. You're going to hear the term imposter syndrome come up.
Oh, yeah.
I think bad marketing is at the root of imposter syndrome, because when I'm trying to fit my weird, quirky, star-shaped self into some black and white, super tight marketing concept that might make sense on paper, but it doesn't feel like me at all.
Yeah.
I know I'm being fake.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, all those doubts are natural in, like, should I do this thing? Should I do this thing? Doubts are natural in business and in life, but all those doubts get enhanced when I know I'm being fake.
You taught me so many things during the process that we worked together, but there was a couple little key things that stuck out to me. Trust your intuition, which kind of goes right back to what we were just talking about. Trust that you have something to offer the world that nobody else does.
Yeah.
Even if you're in a room full of coaches, nobody's going to coach like you.
Yeah.
Or photograph like you, or massage like you, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was number one. And what you taught me was to trust myself, first off, trust my intuition,
mm-hmm.
and trust that I have something to offer. And it's not that I didn't know that. I just didn't know how to put the pieces together. So I came to you with all these things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a speaker. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to do the podcast, and I wanted to be a photographer. And when you have 4 things or 5 or 6, because we're creative people, we want to do everything.
Yep, absolutely.
We want to have it all. And if you don't have somebody that's going to help navigate that process with their processes, it's very overwhelming. And what you helped me do was take everything I wanted to do, narrow it down to the basis of what it is, and made it very palatable, edible, whatever you want to call it, so that I could do all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's when you and I got together and we did the big brain dump experience. Like, tell me all the things, all the things, all the things. And we just kept writing it down. What I was looking for was the thread that ties it together, right?
Yes.
Is there a way that these things work? And the question that I have as a marketing and brander is, are these separate brands that don't touch? Or is there a way for this to be one brand, one concept with different products, different ideas, different things combined?
Yeah.
And so, what we found with yours was there was a thread that tied it all together, and there was a way that they could work together to promote each other.
Yeah, they're like a happy little family now.
Absolutely. And it just makes it easier to go about doing all the things when you kind of know, is this, it's kind of like Taco Bell and Pizza Hut, owned by the same company, but 2 completely different brands.
Mm-hmm.
Or is this just another menu item on, inside of the same brand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we found out that they are.
Yep.
So I suppose sometimes they don't, but
yeah.
And something we talked about, well, first off, thank you.
And much fun.
And I talked to other people that have hired coaches before, and I've hired coaches before that I've had bad results with. So I really appreciate that. I felt like you really scored a home run for me. Like you got a gold star. And so I highly recommend you to anybody that's looking to market and brand themselves better.
Yep.
I just got done kind of updating my website, and it felt really good. It felt good to use the words that you came up with in the what is it called? The booklet that,
Yeah, the brand activation formula.
yeah, the brand activation formula. That's your little secret sauce too.
Yep.
So I use that. I pull it out every time I want to use my website. I pull it out and use the words and AI and make magic.
Oh yeah. Have I shown you how you can upload it into AI?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
That.
Okay.
Yeah, you can take the brand activation formula PDF version, upload it into AI, and then your AI just knows your brand from that point forward. And you're like, use the words, use the concepts. So yeah, it makes it very user-friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to use that for this podcast because I feel like now, like I have the retreat ready, the book's ready, the website looks great. You know, I feel like everything's on track.
Oh yeah.
So, we talked before we started this podcast about our businesses. And when I go on YouTube, because I love watching YouTube videos on business, marketing, sales strategy, everything, it's always men.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And there's
it is a lot of men.
There's very few women that are out doing the things. And I think it's because we're really busy being moms. And we're busy caring and loving. And you brought up a really interesting correlation between our businesses and relationships. So kind of talk to me about what you were brainstorming earlier.
Yeah, well, knowing that your brand is so based on compassion and feeling, and one of the things that I've struggled with in the past, and I think a lot of business owners struggle with, is this concept of letting our businesses love us.
Yeah.
So from a business, right? So especially with the bro marketing that you're talking about and the very popular bro coaches, it's all numbers and spreadsheets and, like, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
And very kind of basic and cut and dry.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really plug in well to somebody who's got very compassionately driven, very heart-focused, heart-driven. But we try and do our best, right? So we set our goals and we're like, here's the goal. And a lot of times we start to treat or to expect our business to treat us like a bad boyfriend. It'll show up for us when we really, really need it to. Maybe it meets its minimums. Like, even think about the false myth here, that you're not going to get any profit from your business for 5 years. Your business isn't going to be profitable for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I believed it.
Yeah.
And because I believed it, my business wasn't profitable for a really, really long time. Until I said, no, I want a business that supports me and my life. I want a business that fits in with me, because, some of your listeners might not even know me as the Endotype girl or as the marketing girl. They know me as the gym girl, because I did own a gym in the little town that we live in. And at that point, I was getting up at 4:00 in the morning and training people in the morning. And I was going to bed like way late at night because I trained people all evening. And I had other coaches who said, oh, I'm just not a morning person like you are. And I said, I'm not a morning person. And they were like, oh, I just assumed you get up at 4:00 in the morning. And I was like, that's when my business needs me. Right? It wasn't that
I think we're codependent. But it needs me.
The idea of like calling your business your baby. Oh, it's my baby. Babies don't really, it's years before our children give to us the same amount of love and support and that we give to them. Right? So we are just taught that our businesses are not there to take care of us, that they are there to be this thing that we got to go do and that consumes all of our time and energy. And I really want people to challenge that idea, because that's not how I run my life. My business has to fit in with my life.
And as you're saying that, the difference between these bro coaches is that they have a mom that took care of them. They had a wife that took care of them. They don't feel this way about their business.
Sure.
They expect that their business is going to work for them because that's what their wives and their moms do. And we are We're just doing what we've been taught.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah.
Fascinating. It's my baby.
Yeah, it's my baby.
Yeah.
I have to go to work for it. I have to show up. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to show up for your business,
Oh, yeah.
but, I really think that there are ways, like, there are books that have been written, most of them by dudes, with like the 12-week work year and the 4-hour
Oh, the
work
4-hour.
week.
Yep, 4-hour work week.
And all of these books that are like, you need to figure out how to simplify your business because why are we doing it?
Yeah.
A lot of the women that I know want to have a business for freedom's sake, right?
Yeah.
So that we can be with our kids and we can go have coffee with friends if we want, and for freedom's sake. But then we expect our business to treat us like a bad boyfriend, where we're pouring in all of the effort and we're getting very little back out, that we don't have time anymore to go to our kids' stuff, or our kids are having to like buy time, oh, excuse me, can I interrupt you? I know you're busy, but and we just don't design it well. So I think we need to change our expectations and really get into the space where we allow our business to love us. And that affects our pricing, and that affects our marketing, and it affects outsourcing and the expectations that we give to our clients and all of the things. But this business is here to love me.
We are expected to do so many things.
Yeah.
And then our business is, where does our business fit, and how much do we give it? But if we just allow it space to kind of be what it is, take a break, read a book, go for a walk, that allowing that we need to do more of, those inspirations come in.
Yes.
But when we're grinding it out, grind, I got to do this, I got to do that, we halt ourselves, we halt the people around us, and we halt our businesses.
Yeah.
That's not what we're designed to do.
Nope. And finding the way that we are designed to operate inside a business, like my accounting process is never going to look like somebody else's accounting process.
Yeah.
I do details for my clients. I don't love details. So doing details for myself is really difficult. I don't want a whole, and I even tried at one point hiring an accountant. I had an accountant for like a year and a half that, like, if you pay attention to your numbers, and I was like, show me what I'm supposed to pay attention to. They're like, well, you have a good grasp of your numbers. And I was like, well, I thought so. But then everybody told me that if I paid more attention to them, that, no. Just simplify. And that's right. That's what I like to help my clients do, whether it's marketing or their business concepts. How do we strip this down and make it work for you instead of complicating it to do it the right way that we've been told? Just keep it simple so that we have the time and the energy to do all the other fun things that we love.
Yes. Now, tell me, if someone were to come to you and say, I want to start a business, and you've started a few now, would you say, don't? Or would you say, yes, but I would, if I could offer you 3 pieces of advice, this is what I would have. Yeah.
It's tell me why. Like, what's the...
Tell me why.
Exactly. It's all about, why do you want to start the business, and what are your expectations around the business?
Yeah.
Because businesses do take a little time to grow sometimes. So if somebody is used to a 6-figure income through their employer, what's your expectation for this business and how you're going to get there? Because sometimes people have a little bit unrealistic expectation.
Yes.
Then I want to know what your marketing plan is.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple of things in business that are never done. One is your own personal development. You're always going to run into places where it's like, oh, I thought I dealt with that already in my thinking. The other is marketing. Your marketing's never going to be done. Yeah. It's always evolving and it's always changing. So what's your marketing plan? And then I think if I was really helping somebody to evaluate whether or not they were ready to start a business, I think the third question I'd ask them is to tell me about how many brave things have you done in your lives thus far?
Oh, yeah. We talked about that, I think, on our last call.
Yeah. Tell me about the brave things that you've done, because owning your own business is going to require such a vast amount of courage to deal with the risk. There's a lot of risk
Yes.
in owning your own business, and you need to be courageous and brave. So when you're an introvert who would rather be in a bath than at the networking meeting, it takes an extraordinary amount of courage to get comfortable at those networking meetings,
Yeah.
shaking hands, talking to people, following up. If you've never asked someone for your paycheck, like, right? Those of us who are employees, we go in, we work the hours. At the end of the week, the money goes into our bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you go in, you go to work, you do the work, and at the end of the week, you have to go look the boss in the eye every week and go, I would like to get paid based on the value of my performance this week. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
We never had to do that. But that's what it feels like when we have to ask for the sale in our own business. But we don't do it at the end. We do it at the beginning. Would like for you to trust me that I am going to provide for you the value that I'm promising.
Yeah.
Would you give me money now?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're right.
And that takes it. So I think that doing brave things and having a track, and I'm not talking about brave things in employment, right? Like we've talked, I've been divorced, I've single parent raised a family, 2 boys. Those are brave things. And right. And I've put myself in personal growth seminars and coaching programs that expected me to do even more brave things.
Mm-hmm.
How many brave things have you done? Why do you want this business so bad? And tell me about your marketing plan.
Yeah. When I was starting my business, I didn't think that bravery was any part of it.
Yeah.
I started my business because my son has cerebral palsy, he was in a wheelchair, and budget cuts meant that if I didn't take him to field trips, then he couldn't go.
Yep. You just needed that time freedom.
And then my first husband went to prison, and I was single parenting, and my kids had all these issues, like from what had happened.
Yeah.
And they needed me. They didn't trust strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I didn't think I had a choice. So I took a leap of faith that people told me I was a good photographer, that I was going to be one. But it was out of desperation.
But think about how you just even phrased that. I took a leap of faith. We say that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But leap of faith means did a really brave thing, and I didn't know if it was going to work. See, I think that you had gotten, like myself, when I look back at my life, I've done so many brave things. Not intentionally.
Yeah.
I accidentally lived a brave life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And listeners to the podcast, they're going to know parts of your story
Mm-hmm.
that you were a young mom and you were like, I'm going to do this thing. That's brave. And so some of us accidentally lead really brave lives. Other people put themselves into situations like being a really great student or getting into that one college that they really wanted to get into, and not I didn't go to the parties in high school, and I didn't do this. And that's a brave thing that they did at a young age. It can look different for different people sometimes, but I don't even think that those people would say that that was a brave experience. But anywhere there's risk and we just shut it down and run into the risk, that's brave.
Yeah. And it's something that we, for ourselves, because it's uncomfortable. So we try to push it away. We don't want to be brave. But then what are the best stories? What movies are we drawn to? We're drawn to the brave people.
Right.
So it's so funny that we try so hard to create this like cushion around us. And then the reality is that we really love other people being brave. We just don't want to do it ourselves because it feels really hard.
Yeah. 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 And I'm not a like risk it all gambler kind of bravery. I talk about my kids, and especially in raising boys, and my younger son, although he had some developmental delays, he was slow to speak and he was slow to engage in social activities and things like that. He was super physically capable. He was a very strong and big baby. So I would take him to the park, Pink Park over in West Baraboo, and he would climb the Haskins Park.
Oh, okay.
My kids always called it the Pink Park because the slides are all pink.
Oh, okay.
They have a climbing wall. And he, at the age of like 3 and 4 years old, was climbing the climbing wall with his 8 or 9-year-old brother. And he'd come up to the top and be like, look at me, Mama, look at me. And I would have to look and say, job, and then turn away quickly, because what I wanted to say was, get your butt down from there. But he was capable of doing it. I needed to raise my kids so that they could do dangerous things safely.
Mm-hmm.
Not a term I coined. I heard it on some social media at some point. That's how we have to be, I think, as business owners in our business. Don't be thoughtless and rush in and risk it all, right? I'm not talking about like, like go grab the rattlesnake by the neck and, like, no.
Yeah, let's see what you're made of.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Not gambling, not risking everything, but doing what feels like it could be dangerous things safely. So the dangerous things might be putting together a retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And the safety comes when you have some people around you that can help guide and help you see things. So having a business coach or a marketing strategist, being able to surround yourself with friends who are cheering you on, whatever it is, and having a plan. Like for some people, right, who want to start their own business, the safety net is don't give up that day job yet. Or what are you going to do part-time to be able to make your minimums so that you can let your business grow over the next few months and, and get to a profitable stage. So yeah, dangerous things safely in business. Yeah, that is what I think bravery is, though, is when we can see the risk there and we're still willing to go do it.
And I think to minimize that risk of bravery is to learn how to trust our intuition as well.
Mm-hmm.
And because we have these great ideas, like you said, you sat on your Endotype Formula. So trusting that intuition is super important as well. I know when I first started photography, I would drive past this sign at the fairgrounds, and it was a digital sign.
Mm-hmm.
And it switched which businesses were there. And I drove by it for months. And then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to call and see if I can put my name on that sign.
Mm-hmm.
Put the name on the sign. It was like $25 a month, something.
Right.
And I got my first client that way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we just feel like we shouldn't put ourselves out there. And having a business is constantly questioning that feeling of fear. It's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Okay, brain, tell me why.
Right.
Why shouldn't I do that right now? And chances are there's nothing backing it up.
Right.
And we have to work through that.
Absolutely. Because there might be some beneficial information there. I mean, that's what my Endotype Formula quiz, it really shows me how a person is designed, their strengths, their weaknesses, kind of what those voices inside their mind sound like, and why they're there is for our protection. And so we get an inspirational idea.
Mm-hmm.
I should put my name on that sign.
Yeah.
Or for me, it was like, when I started my gym, I was like, I should make yard signs that say, want to lose weight? Text me here. And I was like, that? And then then the doubt part comes in.
Yep.
Where are you going to put those?
Yeah.
That's a dumb idea. Where are you going to put those? And then the smart part of my brain, or the part that had a plan, was like, I lived right downtown, right by the Coffee Bean here in town. Like, you live on a road that has so many people, and like right across the street from a bank branch. I don't know how much am I risking? So I went and I looked, and it was like $20. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I can risk. I mean, I eat pizza. Like that pizza.
Yeah.
And I put that yard sign out there, and I got one of my very first clients that way. And she was a prolific marketer. She didn't realize it at the time, but she's like, I'm not sure I can afford this. And I was like, if you bring me one new client a month, I will discount your membership by half for personal training. And for the next 6 months, I didn't have to worry about my own marketing. She did all my marketing for me. So for $20, this intuition piece of mine, but the rational or the brake side, that protection side of us, it pumps the brakes a little bit to get us to think things through. Mm-hmm. And so paying attention, right, and going, well, I could at least call and find out how much it takes to put my name on the sign. Yep. And then it's like, oh, $20. Well, I could totally do that. So I think both sides balance us out. It's neither are the enemy of us. It's just knowing when to listen to each part.
I think the biggest process in small business, owning a small business, is to not suffocate the fear. Mm-hmm. Just like Elizabeth Gilbert says, put it in the back seat.
Yep.
Take it along for the ride.
You get to come along. You get to have an opinion. You just don't get to control the radio station.
Nothing can stop you when you honor the fears, the feelings, and you trust that you have what it takes on the inside. Let's just change the subject a little bit here. When we first started, you had your slogan with one of them. I suppose there's probably several, but you help coaches make money.
Yep, I help coaches get paid.
Why coaching?
Oh, because they have my heart. So I have been in the coaching industry for over 14 years. I started my gym here in Baraboo 14 years ago. I didn't realize I was coaching at the time, though. I had dropped a bunch of weight, became a personal trainer. I was working out of one of the gyms that existed, but they weren't really taking care of me, and I wasn't really happy there. And I'm not one to sit around and whine. So I thought, well, what are my options? I could work for another gym that's going to be just like it. I'm not going to like that either. I could start my own, but I can't start my own. I don't have any money to start my own. Well, maybe that's not true. How much money would it take to start my own? Like, I have the space because I had space in my home. And so it was an idea that was ready to come into the world. I had the idea on a Thursday, and by Monday, 4 days later, I had all the equipment I needed to start a gym. It was time.
Yep.
So started my gym, and I was bringing into my gym a lot of the philosophies and the coaching that I had learned before that helped me lose weight. I knew that most weight loss happened in the mind, not necessarily in the mouth or in the squats. Mm-hmm. And so and the other thing that I realized is if I kept my clients talking, they did more squats. So we would chat through their whole training sessions, and I would have like a theme of the week, or here's what one client asked me this question, and people would talk to me about their lives and about limitation. My partner isn't supportive, or I have to go do this, like I'm going on vacation, and it was a lot of mindset. And it was my clients that actually told me, and my employees that started to tell me that I was their life coach. And I was like, that's funny. I don't do that. And they said, well, you do it for me. And so I had to get comfortable because I didn't have a certification. I hadn't been trained for that. No, I'd just been doing it for the last 4 years inside of my gym already. I realized that I was doing coaching, and I had had a coach that whole time. I love the coaching industry. I think it stands in the gap between reading a self-help book and seeing a therapist. Like there has to be somebody, something that stands in the gap. And it used to be, oh, you have put a quarter in me now. It used to be the little sewing circles or the family circles that started to develop where everybody'd sit on the porch and shuck corn together. And in those really comfortable settings, you had aunties that you would go to and you would talk about your life. And I'm having this problem in my relationship, or, I'm having this problem with money and whatever. And you get great advice from these older elders and these people who were experts in things. But now our life doesn't look like that anymore. We don't live by those people. We don't have these sewing circles or, unless we pay for a community or a mastermind or a retreat that is facilitated by coaches or healers or helpers. It serves this need that I think exists in our world now. So coaches have my heart, and it's an industry that I really understand, having been in it for 14 years. And so many coaches get into coaching because they have a passion and a love for people, and they want to help, and they have a natural gift and ability, but then they really, really stink at business. And so that's where I can stand for them and help them to understand business basics, to understand how to say no to all the marketers that are going to come out of the woodwork to sell you the next course and the next book and the next this and the podcast and all the things that coaches are very targeted in marketing for, and to simplify their business so that it loves them.
I think that with Facebook ads and social media and all that stuff, that we are targeted on a level that's kind of insane.
Yeah, and as soon as you put into your little Facebook bio, coach or facilitator or what, there's certain buzzwords, your DMs fill up with spammy, gross marketing content.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask myself, why do these people even keep doing this? Because I just block them. But they're doing it because somebody's buying it. And those people are wasting their money most of the time. This is why I started my podcast, Raving Coaches. I interview coaches on there who have been successful in their business, and we talk about, what did you do? What's your marketing? Where do you meet people?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can stand with coaches to be able to get them paid by either doing branding and messaging, or the strategy that goes along with it. And we just together stand and build and simplify their business so that it expands to be what they want it to be.
And I think why coaches are so valuable, especially right now, it's because people like you and me, like my mom was the first woman to have a full-time job. My grandmas didn't. Their role was to support the family by taking care of the family, putting dinner on the table. So those circles, they don't exist. And even if they did exist, would it be relevant? We're in uncharted territory, and we are getting spammed, and we're getting the guys that are like, why aren't you doing this? And, there's so many things. It's very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And just taking a second and thinking about how overwhelming it all is. And then it's like a coach can quiet it all down so that you can see where you're headed, at least. Because it isn't the end. The end is not the prize. The journey is the prize, and everything that you learn along the way.
Yeah, you got to have fun in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. There's nothing that's going to make us lose motivation inside of our business and get super discouraged, like taking away the fun. If you are having fun, even if things aren't working, but you had fun making the thing that didn't work the way that you thought it was going to, there's going to be some kind of learning there. There's going to be some kind of nugget that it's like, oh, well, that I did it. I did a little challenge. That challenge didn't go the way I thought it was, but I'm going to take that and I get to make it into this now. They become stepping stones as long as you're having fun still.
And I can't tell you how many times I've learned something, put it away in the back of my brain, and only to bring it out 5 years later and be like, oh, I knew I'd use this someday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, even my podcast, I was a prolific podcast guest for many, many years, many, many years. And I knew I wanted to have a podcast, and I knew it would be super fun for me to have a podcast. And at the same time, I was in the middle of building a whole thing, and I was like, I can't do the podcast until it makes sense inside my business. When there's a plan for how it looks, just because of the phase of life and the phase of business that I was in, it had to have a plan for me. And so the whole time I was guesting, I was picking like, ooh, I like how they reach out to their client ahead of time. And ooh, I like how they market this. And, I was gathering up all this information for this idea that, lived in the back of my brain for 5 years. But when it was time, it worked really, really well.
I love that. I know when people say, well, why did you start a podcast? It's like, oh, because I wanted to. I was a guest on them and I loved it. And I wanted to see where it could go.
And,
and it's fun.
It's fun. And you have a very different type of podcast where you're just kind of digging people's stories and seeing what comes out. I knew I wanted one where we were doing the thing, helping the coaches. So very different branded podcast. But yours is so, and I love that you have live guests and a lot of local guests, because I get to be this little fly on the wall listening to a lot of people that I know, right?
Yeah.
Tell the stories that I didn't even know about.
And when you said you were gonna, or you said yes to me being on the podcast, I was like, oh, good. Like, welcome back, Laura. Welcome back to Baraboo. You've been here the whole time.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And you don't need Baraboo.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to say that badly, but
no. It's when you have a brick and mortar business, you have to work with people who either are local or are willing to come from afar to your brick and mortar. And so for my gym, I worked locally and I advertised locally and people knew me locally. And now I worked this year with people from Pennsylvania, people from Canada, people from all over the place. Because I'm no longer, it's all done virtually. I'm no longer brick and mortar, can go anywhere and do anything. So people locally may not have any idea what I've been up to lately, just because it's less about targeting a city and more about targeting a specific type of clientele now.
Yeah, which is a whole nother marketing podcast.
Yes.
So where do you see your business going in the next 5 years?
I don't think I'll live in Baraboo for the rest, or even in Wisconsin for the rest of my life. I've never loved cold.
Same.
But because of divorce agreements and the boy's dad still living locally, and me never challenging that agreement, I've stayed in the area. I don't think I have to, and I don't think I want to. So I'm not sure where the landing place will be. That's one of the amazing adventures that I get to be, that's what I'm doing right now, is like figuring out, what do I want this next phase of my life to look like as far as my life goes? And my business will come along and be able to support that. For my business, I will continue to work with my coaches, doing the thing that I'm doing with them. I'm also taking the branding protocols and the sales documents and the sales systems that I have and taking them to creatives. So a lot of times creative people are not as great at systems, and systems are what build businesses.
Yes.
So my branding system is a really great add-on to website designers, graphic designers, people who are doing branding photography, to be able to not only make more money on the same clientele, but to close them into sales even faster. So that's a program that I'm working on developing right now, and we're turning it into a course. And then there's at least 2 books, one specific to coaches and one to the general public that I would like to write. that have to do with the Endotype Formula and understanding themselves better. So there's a whole marketing plan there. It's just it's finding that balance of making sure I secure my income. It's kind of almost like working with my coaches and getting coaches paid is becoming my part-time job so that I can go do this creative work and this next phase of things that I want to do. So secure the income in the part-time job so that I can go do these other amazing things, which will include some certifications for coaches and some new tools for them and just some really fun ways to use the Endotype Formula.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the Endotype Formula really works. I felt like you were reading my soul. And I love taking out my little packet and looking through it and what you created based on my endotype, which is the lover.
Yep. And anybody who's listening to the podcast is going to go, oh, Steph's the lover brand. Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right? Makes so much sense.
Makes so much sense. Yes. So your endotype is the counselor.
Oh, okay.
Which also makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Ready to add advice, great listener, good podcast interviewer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then that brand was the lover brand. And what we're trying to do with the marketing is just capture the people energy.
Yep. And not only was it really eye-opening that I felt like you heard me or could see into me, it also made sense with the things that I was doing that didn't align with that. And I didn't understand the friction between, this brand of luxury, of love, of emotion and feeling to when people come in for just a headshot. I wanted to give them all of this, but my marketing had none of that. So not only was I feeling like I wasn't being understood by my clients who were just coming in for a headshot, they didn't understand me.
Right.
So there's two parts to this. It's not just...
Right. They're like, why do we need to talk for so long, Steph?
Yeah.
Why do you want to know my life story, friend?
Yeah, I really just need a headshot, man.
Right. Yeah, blue or black. That's the only question here.
Yeah. And, and so understanding that when people do call and they do just need that black or white backdrop, okay, I understand this. Yep. And then I understand when somebody calls and we have a conversation, and then I can offer them this package that I know they're going to love. And that's huge for me and for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you get to do the fun thing. But not only that, you're actually sharing your designed superpower, right? It's how you were designed, is with this gift of intuition and this gift of being able to see and this gift of really being able to heart connect with people. Mm-hmm. It's not something everyone is able to do. It's not something that's my gift to be able to do. But when you can do that and use the vehicle of photography to be able to help capture those things that you just naturally see. You're like, oh, I just naturally know who that person is. And because I can feel them. But we can't even feel ourselves yet.
Yeah. And that's where I had to have boundaries up. Yeah. The whole thing was just fantastic. So,
yep.
So again, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thanks for letting me be on the podcast and inviting me over. I am so excited. You were so fun to work with in the branding. And so receptive to just what's the next step? What's the next step? And it just came together so organically. I can't wait to see what this next year and 2 and 3 look like for you. Because I think we could sit down 2 years from now and it could be a very different conversation. Because I think you're about to, right? I think this is going to be your roller coaster moment.
Yeah.
Things are going to be moving fast and different for you.
Well, part of all this is that I'm doing it for my future self, which isn't part of the Endotype Formula or the work that we've done. But alongside of the transformation that I did through my branding was this realization that I'm not doing it for my parents. I'm not doing it for my dog. I'm doing it for my future self and my past self, the little girl that didn't think she could, but also the 65-year-old that doesn't want to hustle.
Yeah.
The 65-year-old is going to want to be at a beach somewhere. So I got to step up for her too. So I do have a retreat coming up, but I do have it in the intro now. So you're going to hear it. How can people find you and follow along with you and maybe set up a call with you if they're interested in working with you?
Sure. So anybody in your audience can take the Endotype quiz. It's for question assessment. They find it at endotype.com. And they'll learn a little bit of something about themselves. They don't have to be business owners. They don't have to work with me. If you want to hear more about my philosophy of working with coaches, you can head to ravingcoaches.com or listen in on the Raving Coaches podcast. And on both of those platforms, you're going to find places where you can connect with me. Drop me a line. We'll set something up and we'll talk about, some people really just need either a one little introductory call where I see what I'm missing in marketing, or like that brain dump session, 2 hours. Let's put all your business out on paper so you can see it and it makes more sense for you. That's one of my superpowers to be able to do. And others, they might need branding and marketing and strategy. So
you do it all.
However they need to be supported, I'm able to support.
And if you can't support you, will definitely help them find the right person because you know a lot of people.
Correct. Yep. I interview coaches every single week on the podcast, some of which are business coaches or relationship, all kinds of different coaches. Connect with me if you're looking for a coach, and I'll find you a great coach to be able to connect with and make sure they're right for you.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Awesome.
Thank you.